Hi, my name's Julien Baker, and you're watching AMBY.
Hey everyone, it's Alicia from AMBY, and I'd like to welcome you to our interview with Julien Baker. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited to be here. This is great. It's a wonderful evening.
We're excited to have you.
Ah, awesome. Thank you.
Well, I want to kick things off by getting right into your love affair with Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's like my favorite topic.
I saw the photograph of you with the mascot the other day. Kind of tell me where this whole thing began.
Okay, where the Dunkin' Donuts love began?
Yes.
Okay, so I love coffee. When I quit smoking, that was like my final vice that I refused to give up is coffee. And I used to be big into Starbucks, and I would like make everyone I was on tour with stop at Starbucks. And then I tried Dunkin' and realized you can get double the iced coffee for like half the price. And it made me so happy. I was like, Dunkin' is the proletariat coffee. Like, it knows that it's just sugary and kind of like just okay, but you're having a bad day and you need a cup of coffee. And Dunkin' is always there for you, and it's like more convenient. And so I just started making a joke of it, and then I would go there every day. My friends teased me about it, and then we actually got the donut tattoos because we had donuts for dinner like every night of tour. And like I would make them like seek out Dunkin' Donuts to like keep me awake in the morning. And we were like, what is something that symbolizes our relationship on like the bonding that we've experienced? And so I got the Dunkin' tattoo, and when I tweeted at them so much, they were like, whoa, you're an incredible fan.
Yeah.
And then they sent me this box of stuff.
That's amazing.
They sent me like sunglasses and like a shirt and like a gift card, and yeah, I was like, I love Dunkin' Donuts.
That's incredible.
But I haven't seen any Dunkin' Donuts since I've been in Canada.
No.
One of my friends that's Canadian told me what's comparable is Tim Hortons.
Yes.
I went there.
It's everywhere.
Every exit has had a Tim Hortons on it, and I got the maple iced coffee, and it tastes like a liquid pancake. It's delicious. I love it. So that'll be my fix while I'm in Canada.
When I found out that we were the same age, we're both 20.
Yeah?
Yeah. When I found that out, I loved that. Because when I
Really?
listen to your record, it's so mature sounding, and the lyrics are just so, it feels like you're an old soul, and I love that fact about the album.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm glad that you think that. See, it's like, I feel like I'm goofy or come off like really young, but as we were talking about earlier, I think maybe that's like, we both do have those old souls.
Yeah.
That like the goofy parts of us are still a little bit dated in a way, you know? I'm all right with that, though.
Do you feel that because the album's a little bit sadder and a little more serious, people think you're going to right away be a serious person? Have you received that before?
Yes, like in interviews, people I think will not pry, but they'll lead with questions that are like, tell us about your substance abuse, or like, tell us about your splotchy past with religious turmoil. And those are things that I love to discuss because I think they're important, and like if somebody has an issue with substance abuse or with religion or blah blah blah, I want them to feel less alone. But it's almost as if they imagine me to be sitting there in like a scarf, like staring out the window ironically, like I have suffered so much, and I just would never do that. I'm like a goob in real life. I write those sad songs so that I can afford to be dorky, you know, and just happy.
I love that.
Yeah.
You mentioned a couple of the more serious things you write about on the album right there.
Yeah.
When you first were writing that, was it a little difficult for you thinking, oh, I know a lot of people are going to be listening to this in the end, it's a little bit more vulnerable?
Well, so I didn't. Like, that's what, this process has been so weird because I had no idea that this many people would ever hear the record, right? Like, so I was just playing shows with my band Forrester that I'm still in, and like I still go back to Memphis and play punk shows and do that whole thing. And meanwhile, I just put out this record, just kind of some things aligned and allowed me to, and I thought, well, why not? I'll put out a solo record, you know, like a, well, Garnier Fructis commercial here. But like, you know, like a Jeremy Enoch and Sunny Day Real Estate thing. He put out a solo record, kept doing Sunny Day Real Estate. It was fine. I never imagined it would be this big of an audience, so I was writing to basically no one. You know, I thought, like, no one's going to ever care, so I can write about whatever I want. And I had that artistic license, and I think maybe that's what ended up serving the record well. Because if I had thought more people would hear it, I don't know, I might have been. I'd like to think that I would still be as bold, but I think maybe I would have been more reserved and like held things back. But I think that's taught me to be vulnerable, and that being vulnerable can be a good thing now that I've seen how it's turned out on the other side with these things I never thought would happen. So, I don't know.
Well, lyrically for me, I get some like Waxahachie vibes, some Dashboard Confessional definitely in there. So who were some artists you were listening to that kind of helped impact what you were writing at the time?
Oh man, so many. Like, and lyrically I always go back to like my favorite artists are Ben Gibbard, obviously, of Death Cab for Cutie, had a huge influence on my songwriting growing up, listening to those early Death Cab records. And then David Bazan of Pedro the Lion is another one that I've listened to quite a bit. And, like, Me Without You is my favorite band.
Oh, cool.
But see, it's like, none of my songs sound like a Me Without You song, really.
Yeah.
But I just look up to them so much, like, the things that they deal with more topically, I respect. And I respect their authenticity and their removal of, like, the pretense of songwriting to where they just say exactly what they want to say. But, like, also, I tell everyone that song $100 by Manchester Orchestra, we were just listening to them in the van on the way up here, and I was thinking about how Manchester Orchestra and, like, Ride Away Great Captain, Andy Hull's songwriting really changed how I thought about what you need, like, the components of the song. Like, they just do such interesting things, and that really informed my songwriting a lot, too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're now bringing the record out on the road. As you mentioned, it's your first time in Canada.
Yeah.
First time out of the States. So what was your first impression of Canada and us Canucks?
That you're so friendly. Like, we were all talking about, I don't know if I had said this earlier, but the observation we made immediately was that it's not too different from the U.S., except everyone is marginally friendlier. Like, things are just a little bit easier to work with. And there's no Dunkin' Donuts. But there's so many Tim Hortons. Like, more Tim Hortons in Canada than there are McDonald's in U.S.
Feels
so
like
far.
it.
But I'm excited to explore. We, like, came straight to soundcheck, and I'm about to walk and just explore the area.
Awesome.
So.
You're definitely in a good area to explore.
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of cool stuff around. There was, like a community center and, like, a little arts co-op thing. I was like, I'm going to check all this stuff out. Yeah.
Well, have you had any cool fan experiences on the tour? Just people coming up to you asking you things about the record or kind of saying how they've been able to relate to what you've written about?
Well, that happens. Yeah, so that'll happen at the show. There's usually, like, a couple of people that stick around at merch. And, I mean, that's even new for me, that people even want to talk to me, that people even take the time to, like, or I still can't wrap my brain around, and I may not ever be able to when people ask me to sign things. I'm just like, why, though? Like, I just don't ever think of myself in that light, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. And so I always make sure to, like, thank them too, because at the end of the day, when people say thank you to me, I'm like, well, you're the one that bought a ticket, you're the one that bought a record, you're the one that lets me live my dream job. Like, who thinks they get to do this? But the coolest experience, actually, I played Detroit last night. This is a little bit of a tangent, but on the first time I ever toured the record, Sprained Ankle, and before it was even released on a label, it was just up on Bandcamp, and I went on this DIY tour with my friends. We played Detroit in January, and there was no heat in the venue, and there were like 10 people there, and it was my buddies from the DIY, like, punk scene there, and I played Rejoice, and I was, like, feeling weird about playing that song and thought I was going to freak people out. And then a kid messaged me afterwards and said, hey, I'm really glad you played that song. It meant a lot to me, the words that you said. And when I came back this time, I played at, like, a bigger room, and there were, like, 200 kids there. And when I played Rejoice, I almost started crying because I could see my friends from the punk scene in the front row, and then there were all these strangers, and they were all singing along. And I just thought, like, whoa, people took the time to learn my words. And, like, I thought, what if I had never played that song? And, like, now we all get to share this moment, and, like, I could hear them over the mic, and I thought I was just gonna break down out of just gratitude and, like, how beautiful that was. I'm getting all cheesy and emotional, but that was
incredible.
my favorite part of tour so far, to see the full circle thing happen.
No, you put so much into your work and into honing your craft, so to see it paying off and people caring, it's obviously something to get emotional about.
Yeah, and I was like, to share that, you know, it's like I could make art for me and just say, I made this thing that I think is good or I think is beautiful, but when other people get something out of it, that's the real payoff, right? To create something shareable, or something relatable, meaningful to not just yourself, you know? So that was like the most beautiful moment of tour so far.
I love it.
Yeah.
Just touching on the fans, I think it's a great note to end on. Is there anything you want to say to all of them who are going to be viewing?
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time to watch this. Thank you for supporting music and supporting me, Alicia. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for doing this. I'm so excited.
Of course. I'm excited too. Awesome.
Yeah, and just to everybody viewing, remember you can visit us at musicblogya.com for all exclusive interviews, features, videos, and so much more with your favorite artists. We'll see you next time.